Good morning, everybody, and welcome to, or good afternoon, I guess, but no, just ticking into afternoon for many of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you all, and welcome to this webinar from Disability Without Poverty. We are here today to talk about some issues relating to the Canada Disability Benefit, the aftermath of the federal election, and anything else that Rabia and I feel the need to cover as we go along. As ever, I want to start off with some notes relating to accessibility. We fully acknowledge that the Zoom platform isn't fully accessible to every disabled person. We do our very best to build in accommodation features that are available to us, like ASL, LSQ, and French language interpretation. Please note, the chat has been disabled to accommodate presenters and people with vision loss who can find the chat very distracting. If you have any concerns, please send us an email at hello@disabilitywithoutpoverty.ca. If you are experiencing technical difficulties, however, you will be able to send a chat message to the hosts and panelists. That's not the place, though, for questions and things like that. However, offensive language, aggressive behaviour, and abuse of any kind will not be tolerated in the chat function. We expect everyone to use respectful language, and we welcome constructive criticism. Discriminatory, offensive, and abusive language will result in individuals being removed from the webinar. For all the questions that you have, please put those in the Q&A box, usually at the bottom of your screen. We'd greatly encourage you to share your questions, as we will be responding to as many as we can during our live conversation today. As we mentioned, our meeting today features simultaneous English and French translation, LSQ and ASL interpretation, and English and French captioning. Please take a moment to adjust your settings as appropriate. First, select your preferred language, English or French. I'm sorry, my service dog Leo is trying to join in the conversation. You do this by selecting Interpretation option on your Zoom menu. Once you select this option, you will not need to change the language settings again during the presentation. You must select a language, even if you want to hear this presentation in English. If you're using a mobile device, such as a phone or tablet, you can find language interpretations options under More. For those who require ASL or LSQ interpretation, we'll be spotlighting those components throughout the presentation. No need to do anything. These will automatically remain on your screen. To enable captions, select the captions option on your Zoom menu. If you'd like to adjust the size and placement of these captions, you'll need to go into your Zoom accessibility settings. For those of you who'd like to access French captions for the event, please click on the link that is provided in the webinar chat box to access these online. If we can support you through the presentation, please send us a message in the chat box and somebody will assist you. For any additional settings, please go to your personal Zoom account settings or your webinar audio settings. For more customization. So, to summarize our accessibility options, please select your language using the interpretation option. Enable captions if required, and finally, make sure to share your questions in the Q&A box. And now I'm going to deal with the barking dogs. Our team members are on hand to help you with any technical difficulties you may be experiencing. I'm coming to you from Kelowna, BC, from the unceded and ancestral territories of the Syilx, Okanagan First Nations. Rabia, over to you. Rabia, you may be on mute. I can't hear you.
Sorry, it popped up something on my screen, so it took me a bit to find the mute button while I'm being spotlighted. So apologies. My name is Rabia Khidr. I'm the National Director of Disability Without Poverty, talking to you from the traditional territories, most recently of the Mississaugas of the New Credit, also known as Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. It is a privilege and an honor to live on this land, originally inhabited by our First Peoples, our Indigenous communities across this part of Turtle Island. At DWP, we are committed to truth and reconciliation, disability justice for all peoples on Turtle Island, from sea to sea to sea in Canada and across the universe. I am a person with a disability with lived experience. I identify myself as a Muslim, Punjabi, Pakistani, Canadian, hijab-wearing woman. So I say I'm a hyphen with many hijabs. I am a wife, a mother, a daughter of aging parents, a sibling of people with intellectual disabilities, having a disability from birth myself. I am a systems disruptor, social entrepreneur. I have served in many capacities in many different ways to advance human rights and disability justice. I am someone who came here as an immigrant child. My father made minimum wage, but we had shelter. We had basic food. We survived, and at some point we thrived. The access to education I was lucky to have, with barriers, but I survived through and eventually had access to other opportunities like career, family, and community. So I speak to you in my capacity with all this wrapped up being blind. So today, Michelle, we're going to give everybody an update on our journey to date. The last time we spoke in this format was last December when we launched our disability poverty report card and gave the government an F. Let's see what we're going to do about that in 2025, or what they're going to do about that in 2025. So to date, what has happened? Regulations.
Hold on a minute. After your big introduction, I don't want to have to introduce myself once we actually get into everything. So, my name's Michelle Hewitt. I live in Kelowna, BC. Yeah, I'm also a disabled woman. I have advanced multiple sclerosis, which is on a bit of a march at the moment. Today, it seems to be allowing me to take a few steps. Other days, it doesn't. But so I'm most likely I'm mostly a full-time wheelchair user with a service dog and severe fatigue, very severe fatigue. I'm only out of bed 7-8 hours a day. I may not wear a hijab, but I certainly wear many different hats in different places, doing different things. Most recently, having achieved my doctorate in disability studies, and so I bring a lot of our research focus to what we do here at DWP for people who haven't met me before. And before we go on with any of that, today may be a little disjointed because Rabia is at home at the moment, but in a short while she has to leave because she has to go to the airport to go to Ottawa. Rabia, would you like to tell everybody why you're going to Ottawa, please?
Well, I'm going to have a few meetings, a few good conversations, build some relationships with new people on the Hill, visit some old people on the Hill, but I know why Michelle's doing this to torture me. And I'm going to go receive, which I wasn't able to make it in April due to travel. I am going to go meet the senator, Senator Petitclerc, and receive my inaugural King Charles the Third. Is
Yes,
he
the
the third?
third.
Yes, the
Yes.
third medal. That's
Coronation
what I'm
medal.
going for. Coronation medal.
So
That's what
there
I'm
we go.
going for.
That's enough about all of us. We don't, it's not, this isn't about Rabia and I, but we just wanted to make sure you knew who we are. And I wanted to make sure that you knew why Rabia was going to be on the move at some point during this call. Okay, so here we go. Rabia, catching us up.
Okay.
We have a new government.
Yes. We have a new government. Before the election, we received a glimpse of the fact that there wasn't going to be a dedicated minister for the disability file. That's what is apparent now. So there's some level of disappointment. There's some level of, you know, just sort of reassurance that not everything has changed in Ottawa, so something remains the same. And that means that we continue to work with all parties in all the same places with maybe some new personalities to continue working on better the benefit. So we have a benefit rolling out. The time.
Okay, hold on a minute. So just to ask people, so we do have a new government, and with that, there has been a change of a lot of MPs. So has your MP changed? If so, have you had a chance to meet them yet? And if not, we have a lot of tools on our website that can help you to reach out to them and perhaps construct an email to them based on some of the things you're going to hear us talk about today.
Yes, and
Okay, Rabia.
definitely. And many of you might be joining our monthly webinars, which we made bi-weekly during the election and had people connect with the candidates and raise awareness. So that continues in our efforts through our community advocates and the, continuing better the benefit. So we have basically mobilized people to engage with the election. We pushed out go vote in different languages, get out the vote, know your candidates, know their platforms, and encourage the disability community to go out and vote because we are the 27%. We also launched our disability tax credit campaign in different languages to raise awareness about the fact that our Canada Disability Benefit campaign that raises awareness about the fact that you have to apply for the disability tax credit and the Canada Disability Benefit in hopes of receiving it. And we know now regulations were fully adopted and came into force in May. The application is supposed to be launched today or this week or as soon as possible so that people can actually apply for the Canada Disability Benefit. And the first payout is supposed to be July 1st. We are assured by the system that the timing is working. Last week marked National Accessibility Week. At DWP, we also gathered in Toronto and held our first reception. The Ontario government announced no clawbacks, which is really exciting. The Alberta government, as most Albertans already know, announced that they would be clawing back dollar per dollar. So we recognize that our friends in Alberta are really anxious and fearful of what's to come with all the changes to the AISH program and the fact that the Canada Disability Benefit will actually be clawed back. So there's a lot of work, and through our community advocates and our community advocacy groups that we've gotten to know constituency by constituency, we are hoping that we can have those grassroots conversations. Another exciting piece that I can highlight is the mayors have been very supportive. And because of the mayor's support, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities passed a resolution on supporting ending disability poverty and no clawbacks and federal provincial cooperation of cutting red tape. So our priorities.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Rabia, so we have a map on our website that people can look at disabilitywithoutpoverty.ca, and the map will show you all of the places that have already said no clawbacks or have said they're going to claw back, like Alberta. And we're pretty certain that there's just one place that is kind of in the grey for us at the moment, which is New Brunswick. But we're hearing good things. We're
Yeah.
hearing positive things with New Brunswick, that they're going to be they're going to become online shortly by saying no clawbacks. So we are working closely with our friends and allies in Alberta to support them in whichever ways they want support, right? To
Yes.
we've organised a town hall with them so we can hear from them, because this is their fight. They know the people, and we are here to support them in whatever way we can to try and move this forward, as well as putting all the pressure on that we can, um, federally, to see what can be done federally to put pressure onto Alberta to make this change. I just want to make a comment. I'm seeing a lot of people putting messages to us and questions in the chat. The chat is only for technical difficulties, like you can't hear or you can't see the interpreters or the captions or that sort of thing. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box, and that's where, once Rabia is starting to get in a car to go to the airport, that's where we'll be trying to answer as many of those as possible. But we won't be going back we won't be going back through the webinar chat to try and pick up those answers, those questions, to be able to answer them, or even if they're just comments that people want to share. And as I reminded everybody at the start, the chat function is turned off except for those technical conversations. So, Rabia, sorry, we were talking about clawbacks and provincial positions, and talking about how our municipalities, the parts that they're playing at the moment, which is crucial to the work that we're doing. We may not think that our municipalities, because they kind of don't have a big seat at the table the way the province and the federal government does. But why do we see the mayors and the municipalities as important, Rabia?
Well, one mayor told me last year, and I took that phrase from him and I've been using it, that, the federal government has the finances, the provincial governments have the responsibility, and the cities, municipalities actually face the problems. So housing and homelessness, food insecurity, deep, deep poverty of disabled people, it's visible at the city level, at the street level, at the community level. It's visible at, places of worship. It's visible at the mall, at city hall, at shelters. So it's really, really community based. And that's where mayors are. So they play a very important role. They have a very important voice to amplify our messaging. So it's important that if you're out there, you also contact your mayors and talk to them about your lived experience, about disability poverty. And summer is around the corner, Michelle. Summer is a good time to connect with elected officials at all levels, because
We love it.
they are on break. They are often on break. Break doesn't mean that they're no longer working. It means they're on break from their formal duties at the table, on Parliament Hill, or at the legislature, or at the council, in the council chamber. So they are out and about meeting with the people that voted for them or that live in their riding or ward. They have barbecues, they attend festivals, they attend celebrations, they hold picnics, they are invited to community events, and they're looking for photo opportunities. So what better photo opportunities than with disabled people? So we don't give them free photo opportunities. The price they have to pay is to listen to us, to learn about what our experiences are, to get to know our lived experience. So that's what we encourage every person with a disability, family member, and ally to do, is get out there this summer, have those conversations. Our main three asks right now are, our primary concerns that we're saying we have to hashtag better the benefit, sort of 2.0, are The income amount is inadequate. We know that $200 isn't enough to lift disabled people out of poverty, but it might get them that haircut they need, or that outfit they need, or that over-the-counter painkiller or vitamins they need to get through their day, to get to do some daily living activities, maybe even consider taking a course to develop some skills, or taking on a volunteer role or a job. So that $200, not nearly enough, but a little bit toward that path of ending disability poverty. So the amount is inadequate. We know that. We will push for more. In times of austerity, which
Okay.
we're going to be told about right now, we know that government's not going to be that quick to increase that amount, but we will continue to raise our voice.
Okay. Our
Automatic
second.
enrollment, Michelle,
There we go.
automatic enrollment. People have already gone through all kinds of paperwork to prove their disability. So we need to talk to the mayors and the provincially elected people to say, hey, cooperate with your federal friends, talk to them, and encourage them to automatically enroll you. If you have already done all this medical vetting, we shouldn't have to fill out those forms again for the disability tax credit. We shouldn't have to go to a doctor again. There's a shortage of doctors. So make it easier. Let's cut red tape. And clawbacks, well, we're almost there. So clawbacks is working, except in Alberta. But the other two priorities still stand, and the low-hanging fruit out of those priorities is really encouraging them to ease up on the process and share medical information already put in one level of government in their system for another benefit at a different level of government. Let's cooperate.
So I just want to talk about, so those are our three priorities. And I think clawbacks, I think, as you say, the major ones being clawed back from provincial assistance programs, we've taken care of. We're taking care of, other than Alberta, and we stand in solidarity with you disabled people in Alberta. Beyond that, there are other clawbacks, right? There are other places where you have to report your income to get, it may be the amount that you pay for care, or that you pay for assistive devices, or whatever it may be. And
Housing subsidy.
housings, you name it,
Yeah.
there's going to be a long list. We invite you to tell us about any difficulties that you have once it rolls out. Now, I know that that's the bit that people are interested in. And let me tell you that while we're talking, I have constantly got this page open on my phone, which is the federal government's Canada Disability Benefit page, which is their most up-to-date information, and says that, the first month of eligibility is in June, and further information will be posted on this page in the coming weeks, and that was updated on the 16th of May. I keep hitting refresh this morning because that will be the place that we will see an application process. And as of yet, we are not saying that. I'm seeing a few people, I'm just going to a comment from our technical staff. A few people are asking, what are clawbacks? So a clawback is when you are given money by one place and it's taken away by somewhere else. So if the federal government, if you are able to get this $200 benefit starting from July onwards, if that counted against another benefit you get somewhere else, and they take that off. So, for example, in BC, we call it PWD, or disability, the social assistance payment, and it's $1,358.50. I'm sorry, my stats part of my brain isn't working very well this morning. If the government clawed it back, instead of $1,300, you'd be getting $1,100 from BC and $200 from the federal government. That's not happening. If you're on PWD here, you will get $1,300 plus $200. If ODSP is how much, Rabia? She's on mute, sorry.
ODSP it's somewhere between 13 and 1400 now.
Yeah, okay. So again, not being clawed back by Ontario, we were all waiting to hear that. It was announced last week. So Ontario it means that you will get your $1,300 there as well, plus this additional amount of money. So what do you have to do to qualify? What do we know so far? We know that it's a three-part application. One is to fill in an application form that we haven't yet seen. That's why many of us are constantly hitting refresh. The other is to have filed your taxes from last year. And the third is to qualify for the disability tax credit. Now, we know that that is a major barrier. So the disability tax credit, you know, heard me say this before, the clue is in the title. It's a tax credit. It was designed for people who have enough income that they pay taxes and that they are able to claim a credit back, just as you may for just as you may for other things, you know, as we fill our taxes in every year. So it was never designed as a gateway to social programs like this. And we also know that the take up is particularly low, that it's like 40% or less in most provinces, which means there are 60% of people who are going to miss out on the Canada Disability Benefit. So when Rabia talks about one of our priorities being automatic enrolment, it is to get people who have already jumped those hoops in some way in their province through another program, whatever it may be, automatically enrolled for this program that the government is using as a gateway, as this thing to get you into the Canada Disability Benefit. We have had a campaign going for this that you can find on any of our social media, and it uses multiple languages as well. You know, there are, and it directs you to our partners in many of these things, like the wonderful people at Plan Institute, who are also our technical support in this call today. So those are the people who can provide you with support. That's not what DWP does. We're not a service provider, but we can direct you to places through all of the announcements that we have to tell you what to do. We're imagining that June is going to be a pretty busy month for us all. However, I know those of you who are able to qualify are going to want to get hold of this money as soon as possible. Why wouldn't you? If for some reason, oh, I've got an echo. Oh, Rabia. There we go. If for some reason that money doesn't start flowing in July, it will be backdated. So say you don't get it till September, that you will get July, August, and September. So for all, you know, you may not, if something happens and you don't get it on day one, don't worry that you're missing out on money that you're entitled to. It will make its way to you. We're also very conscious of how that is happening and whether that will, what implications that may have for your provincial systems, and whether that may put you over limits for certain things that you are currently eligible for. So please, hello at Disability Without Poverty is kind of your one-stop place to send us a message, and we're very interested in hearing all of the bumps and lumps that may happen to you. As you know, we wish that this goes smoothly for everybody, but we're very, very interested in hearing anything that happens, and so that we can put pressure on in all the right places, whether that is federally or provincially, to get things taken care of. Rabia, can you just give me a bit of an update of where you are time-wise?
Yeah, I was just going to add a couple of things, Michelle. I'm going to be running off to my other phone in a couple of minutes. But I just wanted to say that immediately what we're doing at DWP is we are writing to key people in Ottawa. We are mobilizing our partners. Our labor has come on board, the three major labor partners with us, CLC, CUPE, and United Food and Commercial Workers have signed on to a letter with us that we have sent off to the Prime Minister and key ministers saying, hey, let's get the amendment to the Income Tax Act prioritized and expedited, because that will ensure that people don't face any money taken away from any other benefits or credits that they might receive at the federal level as well. So that's a little technical thing that the government promised previously and almost got done in 2024, but we are asking them to give that high priority and get that done alongside with many, many allies in the disability community that are doing the same. And we will continue to push for that. That's the immediate action that we expect from government. We are
Yeah,
excited to build relationships with the minister that we see responsible for disability inclusion and the Canada Disability Benefit, which is the minister responsible for jobs and families, Minister Patty Hajdu. She was health minister during COVID and worked closely with the minister responsible for disability issues, then Carla Qualtrough, to make sure that accessibility and the needs of people with disabilities were reflected in any of the policies that they were coming out with that were riddled with barriers, but they heard our barriers when we communicated with them and tried to rectify something. So we're excited to be building that relationship with the new minister and her team as well.
I have to say, Rabia, I'm very excited and kind of proud of the multiple partnerships that are existing here. We have partnerships with various sectors of the health industry allies there, whatever that, as you say, labour is a very important sector that is allied with us. And I'm also very excited by the progress that we've made as a disability community and something called the National Disability Network, where we have recently, we have continually put on pressure as a group to put pressure on the federal governments and various provincial governments all the way through this with multiple social media campaigns and letter writing campaigns. So I really wanted to give a shout out to the people that that are working with so closely through all of this. Okay, I see I have no Rabia on the screen, so I'm going solo until she comes back to me. I'm going to start. I'm just going to start go through some of these go through some of these questions. So, when will the application be available? We would love to know. We will. We would love to know. As I say, that's why I'm clicking refresh, and hopefully it comes today. Somebody says, I already claimed the DTC. Will CDB start automatically? No, it will not. You have to have already filed your taxes and you have to apply for this process that we are waiting to be made available to us today. So I've gone down to there. John Stapleton, hi John. Do we know if the federal government will change legislation so the CDB is not to be tax reportable? So that's a massive one. That's one of the ones that we were talking about when it comes to what could happen with clawbacks and so on. Because if you have something like a rent subsidy or if you have in BC, I know it happens with how much you pay for care and so on, and you have to report your income. If it stays the way it is at the moment, that income is reported and therefore it would come off your rent allowance. This is all a bit technical, but for those of the people on the call, so back in the fall on page 66 of the fall economic statement, there was a process to take place that were to make it as non-reportable income. We have put a lot of pressure, disability without poverty, we've done it individually and we've also done it collectively through the National Disability Network. So that part of the fall economic statement, which never happened because Parliament was prorogued and we went to an election and all of those other things that we know, we've put a lot of pressure on that happens right now. So, for example, we know that the Liberal Party and the government's one of their priorities right now is to lower taxes by July 1st for everybody. Well, if they're going to go in and open up the Income Tax Act to do that, while they're there, they should fix the CDB. So, to answer your question, John, no, it hasn't been changed yet because Parliament was prorogued. It requires it to go through Parliament. It requires an act for that change to be made, and we're very hopeful that our pressure will be heard. And in the 20 days of July or whatever it is, that's not that many working days that Parliament is sitting, that perhaps they will take care of it. Graciela, my son is severely disabled and $20 is still a drop in the bucket. Graciela, I absolutely hear you and we completely agree with you. Those of us as at Disability Without Poverty and many others have said that this is far too little money going to far too few people. I'm sorry if I kind of got the words screwed up there, but you know. So yes, a lot of people are asking for the link to register for the CDB. I hope that somebody has put in the chat. I think that I saw it. The page where I am refreshing, and hopefully lots of people happen. Okay, what happens if you no longer have a family doctor in order to process the disability tax credit? Absolutely. That is a terrible flaw in our system and something that we are really hoping that the government is to come out with some solutions to. Because if you create a gateway that requires this to happen, well, then you better come up with some solutions. So that is something, replying to Linda, that yes, we are aware that it's a problem. And that is why that we are putting the pressure on to say that if you already have a disability benefit of some sort, if you are already jumped through this hoop once, you should never have to jump through it again. You know, many of us know I have a progressive disease. It's not getting any better. It's only going to get worse, right? So why do I have to jump the hoop again? My husband's, amongst other things, is an amputee. That leg ain't growing back anytime soon. So, you know, we hear you and we really understand. And that's why when you hear us talking about automatic enrollment for the DTC, all of these words may sound quite technical, but they're real people's lives, right? They are absolutely what we're going on here. Can you apply for the CDB over the phone? We think so, right? But we don't know because we're waiting for all of that to come through. So we should hear about that sometime soon. Essie, hi there. Is there any updates on the pool of money to play doctors? No, and that comes out of finance and the CRA. I'm sorry, I'm looking a little bit, you know, I'm trying to remember where. I remember hearing it comes out of two odd places that I hadn't necessarily thought it would come through. But no, we haven't. And again, we're asking those questions. So Salima asks, how does it impact those on ODSP? So I think we answered that earlier, that it shouldn't
I'm
impact
here, Michelle,
because...
just for your information on audio.
Oh, hey there. Thank you. So it shouldn't impact because people said that Ontario last week now called out that it's not going to do any clawbacks. But the other part of your question is interesting. CPP disability. We've had a variety of answers on that. And I'm still waiting for the government to say, yeah, no clawbacks on that. So Marina says, really disappointed about election, didn't have vote by home visits. And I think I saw Nancy Hansen, you said that you weren't able to vote because you never got your kit. My big advice is that you go to the Elections Canada website and that you make a complaint. I had an issue when I went to a vote that another dog attacked my service dog. And, you know, I did make a complaint and the response was, you know, well, people, if we're not allowed to ask people whether it's a service dog or not, well, it's a pretty rough answer. So we have to, when it comes to voting rights, We have to keep pressure in for all these things. So yes, Maria, it does seem that they're trying to exclude us. And, you know, I would shout out to a wonderful book by Michael Prince called Absent Citizens that talks exactly about those things. I don't want to get any too technical, but yes, I do believe that that is that we all have to keep the pressure on, that we have just as much right, obviously, as anybody else to vote in this country, and that we shouldn't be precluded from it by the system. Hey, Guillaume Parent, nice to see you here, my dear friend. Long time no chat. Did we receive any details on the application and process? No, we did not, and we asked and we asked, and we're refreshing that page over and over. Would it be an opt-in or an opt-out? It is definitely an opt-in process. So what Guillaume means by that is, as many people have asked, am I going to automatically get this benefit? You know, and the answer is no, you're not. You're going to have to apply for it. We asked for it to be an opt-out process, and we were told that that wasn't possible because of people's human rights or something, you know, that sort of thing. So, Camille, Minnie, you're talking about filing your taxes, you know, and that since many tax clinics exclude self-employment income. And I know that that's a big thing for disabled people, because obviously often the only way that we feel that we can earn additional income because of our embodied differences, because of our disabilities, is to be able to be self-employed in some way, because then we can control the number of hours that we work or where we work and those sorts of things. And so I take that on, and I'm going to give that as a shout out to my friends here, that if there's anybody on the call from DABC, or if there's anybody here, you know, I know I have my Plan Institute friends, and perhaps Guillaume as well from Phenomatom, which I just pronounced very badly. My apologies, Guillaume, to say that, yeah, perhaps we really do need to look at self-employment income and disability, because so many of our disabled friends use that as an extra income. So let me just keep
Michelle,
flicking.
while
Yes.
you're looking through
Yeah,
questions,
keep
I'm
going.
just going to babble a little bit before I have to sign off, because I'll be in a noisy place.
Yeah.
Again, we're very grateful to our friends that have been regular participants, regular in our monthly town halls. Our monthly town halls will resume as of either end of this month or beginning of July. We will go back to a monthly format again. We want to continue building capacity. We have heard from people what they would like in order to be able to confidently participate in raising awareness through media, through meeting with their elected officials, etc. So we are going to develop strategies beyond our community advocate, which is on our website, to support people, our community advocacy groups at the grassroots level. So we would love to know from anyone out there attending who is a person with a disability, or a carer, caregiver, family member, whatever you want to label yourself as. Drop us a note. Let us know whose riding you live in, especially if they're a key minister. Like if you're up in Thunder Bay, in Patty Hadjdou's riding, we want to know who you are. If you are in the finance minister's riding, we want to know who you are. If you are in the prime minister's riding, we definitely want to know who you are, or the opposition leader, or any of the critics that may be announced by opposition. You know, we want to know who you are, and we want to work with you and connect you to other people in your constituency, so we can build groups of people and find allies to support you. This is really going to take grassroots effort to better the benefit. So we have to not just end our local conversations because an election has happened and there is a new government. It's even more important that we continue to build those relationships and raise awareness if we want them to promise further change.
So I think that's perfect. That one of the questions is what's being done to better the benefit from $200 to more? What's being done to advocate for a better rate in the full budget that Prime Minister Carney is releasing? So it really is an all of us doing everything all of the time response. So, you know, as you know, Rabia is currently on her way to Ottawa for a celebration event where she's being recognised, you know, for the work that she does, most rightly. But also because we never waste an opportunity. If she's going to Ottawa, she's also going to be having meetings with as many people as she can to start, you know, taking with you all of these messages that she's heard today and all of the ones that we continue to hear through our social media, through our inboxes, and through these town halls that Rabia was meeting. So we kind of have two things going on here. We have our webinars, which is really us to you. We talk about something, we answer questions, but town halls are places for discussion, for groups of people to form, to meet with people with, you know, similar interests, excuse me, and to learn new skills. So, you know, to learn, one of the things that we typically talk to people about, many of us in different, you know, that help people to advocate, is an elevator pitch. And what we mean by that is if you were to get into an elevator and Patty Haidu or the Prime Minister was in there, and you know you have the length of that elevator ride to talk to them, what would you say? And the best thing that you can do with something like an elevator pitch is you practice it. You say, hi, my name's Michelle from Kelowna. I'm a disabled person and I advocate for people with disabilities. Disability poverty is a national crisis in this country, and I'd like to talk to you more about what we can do about it. How's the best way for us to stay in touch? Can I give you my email address? And by that point, it's probably going bing and they're getting off the floor. But things like
Michelle,
that.
yep.
Go,
Sorry.
Rabia.
Can I just jump in? I just want to highlight the fact that, yes, I'm going to receive this medal, but this medal isn't about me. It's about all the work that we all do together. And really, it's
Absolutely.
about the fact that sometimes these things get you into spaces and get you some credibility that people don't otherwise give you. I'm not, and that's why I accept these kinds of recognitions sometimes, because they open doors to meeting people. So because I'm going to accept this medal, I'm also going to have a chance to meet with a few people and talk about the issues that matter to us. And some people will pay attention to what I'm saying because I'm wearing this medal, so to speak. So that's a big part of why we do what we do and why we accept some of these recognitions and tokens of appreciation. We really are about grassroots. You know, I can't highlight this enough. People keep accusing us of being astroturfers, that we're lying, we're fake grassroots, we get money from government. No, that couldn't be further from the truth. We do not get money from government. Disability Without Poverty is not currently funded by government, nor have we been. We are funded by philanthropy, to whom we are very, very grateful. The Maitrey Foundation, the McConnell Foundation, the Hamilton Foundation, the Toronto Foundation, the Vancouver Foundation, the Calgary Foundation. These are the people who have given us the resources to do the work that we're doing, to travel to places, to have these meetings, to host these online sessions and pay for all the accessibility features. So we are very grateful to them, and we work with everybody. We don't care which party, whichever party will commit to doing right by disabled people is the party that we will sit down and talk to, and we will sit down and talk to everybody else who doesn't think that this is an issue. We will go talk to them as well. We know that
Sorry, Rabia, you're just breaking up. You're breaking up.
all
Hey, Rabia, you're breaking up now. I don't know where which part of your journey you're in. But I totally agree with what Rabia is saying. We're, I am the chair of the board with Disability Without Poverty. And I can honestly tell you that none of you know what my political affiliations are because I've never made that public. But I will sit down and talk to whoever will talk to us. I will work with whoever will work with us. And the people who won't work with us, you better be ready to talk to us as well, because we are going to keep on talking about this. As I said, we know, I may have just completed a PhD, and that sounds like a big swanky thing, but it comes off the back of a very working class upbringing. Where my mother was a single parent, and we lived in, she was working poor, to use the current terminology, not something we would use today. And I dedicate my PhD to her because she left school at 16 and worked damn hard to make sure that I had an education in a time in a country where that education was free all the way through my master's degrees. The first time I had to pay for education was when I came to when I started doing my PhD. So I know my education, my white skin and my education brings me great privilege, and I never forget that. But I also know that comes off the back of some very hard work in my family and from government policies that in Britain at the time I had my education were very different to the policies that we have here. And those policies not to get into international politics are also under threat. So we really reach out to you to say that we are here to listen to you. We do take down all of the questions that we have coming up here. I know people are asking, oh, so a question here. So Guillaume, retro for up to 12 months. Yes. Karen, what's the income threshold? That's a real problem. The income threshold for people who aren't working is $23,000 a year, which is below the poverty line. That's an absolute disgrace. Like, even for this tiny little benefit that, I know it will make, like as Rabia said, if that is that outfit, that haircut, that meal, that over-the-counter medication that you can't currently afford that makes your life a little bit better, or if it gets you a rent deposit, or I know it's far too low for a rent deposit, whatever it does, it's a great amount of money, but it's not enough. It doesn't do what we asked it to do. It doesn't lift disabled people out of poverty. It doesn't do what we were told. And I'm trying not to get sort of emotional and angry about that. But we have so many things to fix in what we're already being given outside of the amount and the eligibility. The income threshold and that is the income threshold, to explain, is the amount of money that you're allowed to have in a year before they start clawing back, the federal government starts clawing this money. So I'm just keeping going. Why no Minister for Disability? Great question. Ask your MP. Write a letter to the Prime Minister asking him why that's his priorities. Why is there a Secretary of State for seniors, right, and not one for disability? Why is there a Minister for women and gender issues, a Secretary of State for seniors, and nothing for 27% of the population? We are the 27%. We deserve a seat at the table. Why do none of the priorities that he's put out as his mandate seem to refer to us and our needs? Why, in the throne speech, when the government talked about the things that were successful for them, they talked about pharmacare and the dental benefit, but they didn't mention the Canada disability benefit. It's like they've forgotten about it. We're so invisible that they don't even realise that they're going to start paying some money out next month. So Anthony asks for suggestions for questions. Hopefully I answered some of that for you, and what about the minister responsible for poverty reduction, Steve McKinnon? Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that should be happening is that rather than us having this one person sitting at a table that has like just understands disability issues right through and through. We have a minister that has a massive portfolio, right? She's got jobs and families and disabilities and a couple of other things I've forgotten. But there are pieces that will come up elsewhere. Poverty reduction is one of them. Housing is another. We hear that the government wants to, build Canada. I've forgotten the full name of the program, but those houses need to be built with accessibility and cost in mind for disabled people. So I'm watching the time, and I'm really aware of all of these questions. We take them away. Somebody asked, will insurance claw back the CDB? Well, if we get this little bit that I talked about a while ago, if we get that through, it won't be, it shouldn't be. Yeah, somebody says, with no Mike Morris, who will champion our benefit in the House of Commons now? We have to find new champions. That's what we all have to do. Go out, talk to your MP. Like Mike, Mike, for those of us who know him, he's a Green Party MP, one of two of them in the House. How many times did we see him stand up and talk? Who is going to be the Mike of this Parliament? Is that person going to come because you were the person that was able to get in front of your MP this summer at whatever, whether it's your summer festival, whatever it's called, like I live in the Okanagan with our wonderful Peachland Peach Festival. Like, who got in front of their MP and made them listen and made them become the champion that Mike was? Not only Mike, Benita Zarillo and a number of other people that would stand up in the House and be one of our champions. So I really think, so Guillaume, you're asking me any update on the health practitioner? No, Guillaume, because it's got to come out of finance and the CRA. How will I get my union to sign up? Rena asks, get us to send us an email at hello@disabilitywithoutpoverty.ca, and hopefully we will be able to help you in getting other unions to sign up. So will there be clawbacks in BC? No, there will not, and we were the first people that were able to claw that out. I keep saying, yeah, Nancy, it took a long time for my complaint response to come back from the federal election as well. So, but they will get back to you, and if not, you should have got a number to that when you put it in. You're a municipal councillor and you're a representative on an Accessibility Advisory Committee. So, here's something that I want to tell you that I do all the time. I'm now throwing a ball for my dog, if you're wondering what the noise is. That I do all the time. I look for every opportunity that I'm also on my local Accessibility Advisory Committee, and I'm going to be talking to our mayor about oh, somebody please write in the chat the thing that I'm trying to remember the name of them. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities motion that was put forward to support the Canada Disability Benefit. I'm taking that to my mayor and asking him what he can do with it. Every survey I fill out, I comment on disability. So if they ask for a number of like personal statistics, they may ask for age and gender and ethnicity, and they don't ask for disability, I ask them why not? Why aren't you asking about 27% of the population? My city's always putting questionnaires out asking about, what do you think about parking or this playground or whatever, and I always reply saying you haven't taken disability into consideration. I challenge you to find every place you can to reply to somebody, and in that formal way, whether it is municipal, provincial, federal, and that you answer that questionnaire, that you say to them, why aren't you listening to me as a disabled people in the 27%, at least 27% of us that are out here. Okay, it's 9:59 and I know my people are going to shut me down. I really, really have to send out a massive thanks to our signers, to our interpreters, to the people who have been valiantly working on the chat and taking care of answers to questions. I see we still have 73 questions. I really hope, Liz, I'm shouting this out to you, that all of these questions are captured before we shut down this webinar, so that we can try and get the answers out, perhaps in an FAQ to people, because this is really when the rubber is meeting the road and people want to know the answers. So thank you so much to all of the tech support. Thank you so much to all our DWP peeps that are working both this webinar and work so hard behind the scenes. Rabia gave a shout out to all our the people who support us financially. So stay connected. Somebody asked how they can, said that they don't have the memory, and neither do I, to remember all of these contacts and email addresses. I would say, please, can we, to my DWP people, let's send out a very quick just newsletter update offering everybody all of the links and everything that we shared all the way through here, because it's a lot of information. And you bet your bottom dollar, as soon as that web page changes, that I just keep clicking on and it's just not changing, that tells us what's happening with this benefit, you will see it on all of our social media. We will probably send out, an extra alert somewhere along the way. So please, we will do everything we can, and so will so many other disability organizations. Nothing about us without us, and we are all in this together. And I thank you all for joining us on this, and for everybody who's lasted it through the end of our webinar. My gratitude to all of you, and we are going to make this we are going to better this benefit. Thank you so very much.